5 years had passed since the end of the war. Ambassador Lisa Rodriguez stood in the conference room of the Terran Federation headquarters on Luna, looking down at Earth through the massive viewport. The blue and green world seemed peaceful, but Rodriguez knew better. Humanity had been forever changed by the war that should have destroyed them. Dr. Nathan Clark entered the room carrying files about the latest technological developments. His hair had turned completely gray during the war years, but his eyes still burned with the intensity that had driven him to create weapons beyond imagination. "Ambassador, the latest reports from our deep space research stations," he said, placing the files on the table. "Our scientists are still developing new technologies based on what we learned during the war. Things that make our previous weapons look primitive." Rodriguez picked up one of the files. It contained details about ships that could exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, weapons that could reach backward through time to strike enemies before they were born, defense systems that could hide entire star systems from detection. "Dr. Clark, do we really need weapons this powerful? The war is over. The Zephyrian Empire is destroyed. Who are we planning to fight?" Clark sat down across from her. "Anyone who makes the mistake of threatening humanity again. Anyone who thinks our victory was just luck. Anyone who believes we have gone soft now that the immediate danger has passed." A soft chime indicated an incoming communication. Rodriguez activated the display to find a delegation of alien diplomats requesting an audience. They looked desperate and frightened, which had become the standard expression for aliens dealing with the Terran Federation. "Ambassador Rodriguez," the lead diplomat said, "I represent a coalition of 12 species from the Outer Rim. We are facing a new threat and desperately need human assistance." Rodriguez studied the alien faces on the screen. Some of them looked familiar. Representatives from species that had voted to abandon humanity during the war. Now they were asking for help from the monsters they had helped create. "What kind of threat?" she asked. "A species called the Void Hunters has appeared from beyond the galactic edge. They are destroying everything in their path. Our combined fleets cannot stop them. We need access to human military technology." Rodriguez almost smiled. The irony was perfect. The same species who had refused to help humanity now wanted humanity to save them from their own extinction. "And why should we help you?" she asked quietly. The alien diplomat looked confused. Because we are all civilized species. Because we should work together against common threats. Because isolation benefits no one." "Interesting perspective," Rodriguez said. "Where was that wisdom when humanity faced extinction? Where was that cooperation when we begged for assistance against the Zephyrian Empire?" The diplomat's expression became desperate. "Ambassador, please. Millions of innocent civilians are dying. Children, families, entire worlds are being consumed by the Void Hunters." Rodriguez felt a flicker of something that might have been sympathy, but it was quickly overwhelmed by the memory of human children who had died while the galaxy watched and did nothing. "I will need to consult with our leadership," she said. "We will give you our answer within 24 hours." The communication ended, leaving Rodriguez alone with Clark in the silent conference room. "What do you think?" she asked. Doc Clark was quiet for a moment. "I think they are getting exactly what they deserve. They taught us that, in this galaxy, every species stands alone when things get difficult. Now they get to learn that lesson themselves." "And, the innocent civilians who will die if we refuse to help? What about the innocent humans who died while they debated whether our lives were worth defending?" Clark's voice was hard. "They made their choice 5 years ago. Now they live with the consequences." Admiral Amy Patterson entered the room. Now the commanding officer of the entire Terran fleet, she had been promoted after Admiral Morrison chose to retire to a quiet world on the frontier. The war had taken its toll on all of them, but some wounds never healed. "Ambassador, I heard about the request for assistance," Patterson said. "The Void Hunters are real. Our long-range scouts have confirmed their existence. They are powerful, but nothing we cannot handle with our current technology. So, we could help if we chose to, easily." A single human fleet could probably stop their entire advance. Our weapons are designed to fight enemies much more dangerous than these void hunters. Rodriguez walked to the viewport and looked down at Earth again. Somewhere down there, children were growing up hearing stories about the war when humanity stood alone, stories about alien betrayal and human triumph, stories that would shape their view of the galaxy for generations to come. What would Admiral Morrison do? She asked. Patterson considered the question. Jake always said that humanity should remember its friends and its enemies. The question is, which category do these aliens fall into? They fell into the enemy category when they voted to abandon us, Clark said firmly. Nothing they do now can change that. Rodriguez turned back to face them. But what about who we want to be? What about the kind of species we want humanity to become? We already became what we needed to become, Patterson replied. We became survivors. We became strong enough that no one will ever again make the mistake of threatening us. A new communication alert sounded. Rodriguez activated it to find General Cole calling from the Terran Defense Command on Earth. The old general looked tired but determined. Lisa, I just received intelligence about this Void Hunter threat, he said. Our analysis suggests they will reach the core worlds within 2 years if they are not stopped. That includes species that actually helped us during the war. Rodriguez felt a spark of interest. What species helped us? The Centauri Republic sent us medical supplies when our colonies were under siege. The Free Traders Alliance provided safe passage for our refugee ships. Small gestures, but they risked Zephyrian retaliation to help us. So some aliens did stand with us when it mattered, Rodriguez said quietly. A few, Cole agreed. Very few. But they proved that not every species in the galaxy is willing to abandon their principles when things get difficult. Rodriguez made her decision. General, prepare a humanitarian fleet. Medical supplies, evacuation ships, defensive escorts. We will help evacuate civilian populations from the Void Hunter advance. Clark looked shocked. Ambassador, you are talking about using our resources to save the same species who voted to let us die. No, Rodriguez corrected. I am talking about saving innocent civilians who had no say in their government's decisions. I'm talking about being better than the aliens who abandoned us. She turned to Patterson. Admiral, prepare a battle fleet. As well, if we are going to stop the Void Hunters, we do it properly. Complete destruction of their forces. Make sure they never threaten anyone again. Patterson smiled grimly. With pleasure, Ambassador. It will be good to test our new weapons against a real enemy. But, Rodriguez continued, I want it made clear that we are not doing this to restore old alliances. We are not doing this because we forgive past betrayals. We are doing this because it is the right thing to do. Because humans help innocent people, even when those people come from species that failed us. She activated the communication system and contacted the alien coalition. This is Ambassador Rodriguez of the Terran Federation. We will provide assistance against the Void Hunter threat. But understand this, we are not restoring our old alliances. We are not forgetting what happened during the Zephyrian War. We are helping because innocent people are dying, not because we trust you. The alien diplomat looked relieved and grateful. Thank you, Ambassador. We will never forget this kindness. See that you do not, Rodriguez said coldly, because this may be the last time humanity chooses to help species who abandoned us when we needed them most. The communication ended. Rodriguez turned to face Clark and Patterson. We helped them this once, she said. We save their civilians and destroy their enemies. But we make it clear that this is charity, not alliance. We make it clear that humanity remembers everything. Clark nodded slowly. And after the Void Hunters are destroyed? After that, we continue building our own civilization. We continue developing our own technology. We continue showing the galaxy what humanity becomes when we stand alone. Patterson checked her tactical displays. The fleet will be ready to deploy within 48 hours. How do you want us to handle the alien military forces? Protect them if necessary, but do not integrate with them. We fight our own battle, our own way. We show them what human military power looks like when it is unleashed without restraint. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship as the massive human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Zephyrian home system. 300 ships hung in the darkness, each one equipped with weapons that the galaxy had never seen before. Weapons that could rewrite reality itself. Commander Amy Patterson moved between control stations, coordinating the three-pronged attack they had planned for months. Her face was calm, but Morrison could see the tension in her movements. This was the moment that would decide the fate of both species. "Admiral, all fleet elements are in position," she reported. "The gravity wells are charged and ready. The dimensional phase weapons are online. The biological payloads are prepared for deployment." Morrison nodded. Through the view screen, he could see the Zephyrian homeworld glowing like a blue jewel against the stars. Billions of aliens lived on that world. Families, children, civilians who had never fired a shot in anger. In a few hours, many of them would be dead. "Any word from their government?" he asked. "They are demanding that we withdraw immediately," Patterson said. "They claim our presence in their home system is an act of war that violates every treaty." In the galaxy, Morrison almost laughed. Treaties? They abandoned every treaty when they decided to exterminate humanity. Open a channel to their leadership. The main screen shifted to show the Zephyrian High Command Chamber. Dozens of alien officials stared back at him with expressions of fear and anger. Their emperor sat on a throne made from some kind of crystalline material that seemed to glow with its own light. "Humans," the emperor said, his voice filled with contempt. "You dare to bring your primitive ships to our sacred system? You will withdraw immediately or face the full might of the Zephyrian Empire." Morrison studied the alien ruler. Even now, facing a fleet equipped with weapons beyond his understanding, the emperor still believed in his own superiority. He still thought humans were the same species that had begged for acceptance in the Galactic Council. "Your Majesty," Morrison said calmly, "let me explain what is about to happen. In 1 hour, we will begin our attack on your home system. We will use weapons that your scientists said were impossible to build. We will employ tactics that your military said were too barbaric for civilized warfare." The emperor leaned forward on his throne. "You threaten genocide against our people? You prove that humanity is nothing but savage beasts who deserve extinction." "We prove that humanity remembers," Morrison replied. "We remember when you attacked our colonies without warning. We remember when you enslaved our people. We remember when the galaxy voted to abandon us to your mercy." He gestured to the fleet around him. "These ships carry weapons that can destabilize your sun and turn this entire system into a graveyard. We can deploy biological agents that will target only Zephyrian DNA. We can create gravity wells that will pull your ships apart at the molecular level." The alien officials looked terrified now. They had heard reports from the front lines about the new human weapons, but seeing the fleet that carried them was different. These were not the desperate defenders they had been fighting. These were conquerors who had come to end the war permanently. "What do you want?" the emperor asked quietly. "Unconditional surrender," Morrison said. "Immediate withdrawal from all human systems. Reparations for the colonies you destroyed. And most importantly, acknowledgement that humanity will never again be underestimated." The emperor's expression hardened. "Never, the Zephyrian Empire does not surrender to inferior species. We have fleets throughout the galaxy. We have allies who will come to our aid." Morrison smiled coldly. "Your fleets are scattered and demoralized. Your allies are the same species who abandoned humanity when we needed them most. They will not risk their own worlds to save yours." He turned to Patterson. "Commander, begin the attack. Show them what human mercy looks like." The first wave struck the outer defense platforms. Human ships equipped with dimensional phase weapons simply appeared inside the enemy positions. Zephyrian crews found themselves fighting an enemy that could materialize anywhere and vanish just as quickly. Gravitational weapons began targeting the larger enemy vessels. Battleships that had ruled space for centuries were compressed into tiny spheres of superdense matter. Their crews did not even have time to scream before the crushing forces turned them into atomic particles, but Morrison had not come just to destroy the Zephyrian military. He had come to send a message to the entire galaxy. A message about what happened to species who threatened humanity. "Deploy the biological weapons," he ordered. Patterson hesitated for just a moment. "Admiral, the biological payloads will affect every Zephyrian in the system. Military and civilian alike." "I know," Morrison said quietly. "But they showed no mercy to human civilians. Why should we show them any? The biological weapons launched from human ships like invisible death. Engineered specifically to target Zephyrian DNA, they spread through the atmosphere of every world in the system. Within hours, every member of the species would be infected with a plague designed to be as painful as possible before death." On the main screen, the Zephyrian Emperor watched his empire dying in real time. Reports flooded in from across the system. Fleets destroyed, planets under biological attack. Millions of his people beginning to show symptoms of a disease that had no cure. "You are monsters," he whispered. "We are what you made us," Morrison replied. "We offered friendship. You chose war. We sought alliance. You chose betrayal. We begged for mercy. You chose genocide." The human fleet moved deeper into the system, destroying everything that could pose a threat. Space stations vanished in bursts of exotic energy. Orbital shipyards were compressed into singularities. The infrastructure of an entire empire was being systematically dismantled, but the most devastating weapon was still to come. "Activate the stellar destabilizer," Morrison ordered. Patterson checked her readings. "Admiral, are you certain?" "Once we trigger the chain reaction, there will be no stopping it. This entire system will become uninhabitable." Morrison looked at the Zephyrian Emperor on the screen. The alien ruler was no longer defiant. He was watching his civilization die and knowing that he was powerless to stop it. "Do it," Morrison said. Deep in space, human ships fired a coordinated burst of exotic energy at the Zephyrian sun. The star began to fluctuate as its internal fusion process was disrupted by forces that should not exist. Within days it would become unstable. Within weeks, it would explode and sterilize every world in the system. The Emperor stared in horror as his sun began to flicker. "You are destroying an entire star system. Billions of innocent people will die. Billions of humans were going to die when you attacked our worlds," Morrison said. "The difference is that we have the power to prevent our extinction. You do not." He leaned forward in his command chair. "But I will offer you one chance. Order all Zephyrian forces to surrender immediately. Withdraw from every human system. Accept our terms unconditionally. Do this, and we will provide evacuation. Ships for your civilian population." The Emperor looked around at his advisors. They were all staring at him with desperate hope. Their choice was simple: surrender and live, or maintain their pride and watch their species die. "Dubdo coats," the Emperor began, then stopped. His shoulders sagged in defeat. "We surrender. All Zephyrian forces will lay down their arms. We accept your terms." Morrison nodded. "Commander Patterson, contact our evacuation fleet. Begin civilian rescue operations immediately." Patterson looked surprised. "Admiral, I thought we were here to end their species entirely." "We are here to end their threat to humanity," Morrison corrected. "Their military will be destroyed. Their government will be disbanded. But their civilians will live to remember. What happens to species who underestimate human resolve?" The evacuation began immediately. Human ships that had come to deliver death instead carried millions of Zephyrian civilians to safety in other systems. It was an act of mercy that no one in the galaxy had expected from the species they had abandoned to extinction, but it was also a demonstration of power. Humanity had the ability to destroy an entire civilization, but they chose to spare the innocent. It was a message that would be remembered for generations. As the last evacuation ship left the doomed system, Morrison received a communication from Earth. General Cole appeared on the screen, his face showing a mixture of pride and concern. "Congratulations, Admiral. The Zephyrian Empire has officially surrendered. All their remaining fleets are laying down arms. What about our former allies? Morrison asked. What are they saying about our victory? Cole's expression darkened. They are terrified, Jake. They are sending urgent messages requesting meetings, offering trade agreements, promising eternal friendship. They want to make sure humanity never sees them as an enemy. Morrison understood. The galaxy had watched humans destroy the most powerful military empire in known space. They had seen weapons that could destabilize stars and tactics that ignored every rule of civilized warfare. Now they wanted to make sure they were never on the receiving end of human anger. And what did you tell them? Morrison asked. I told them that humanity remembers its friends, Cole said quietly. And we remember our enemies even better. The communication ended, leaving Morrison alone with his thoughts. Through the view screen he could see the Zephyrian sun continuing to flicker. In a few days it would explode and turn Admiral Jake Morrison sat in his quarters aboard the flagship, reading diplomatic messages that had been flooding in from across the galaxy. The news of humanity's victory over the Zephyrian Empire had spread faster than their ships could travel. Every major species was suddenly very interested in renewing their friendship with humanity. Commander Amy Patterson knocked on his door and entered without waiting for permission. She carried a datapad filled with urgent communications from their former allies. Admiral, you need to see these messages, she said. They are all claiming they were secretly helping us during the war. Morrison took the datapad and scrolled through the diplomatic notes. The Corvani Federation insisted they had been feeding intelligence to human forces. The Stellar Alliance claimed their abandonment had been a clever ruse to make the Zephyrians overconfident. The Meridian Collective swore they had always planned to rejoin the war once humanity proved they could win. Interesting, Morrison said dryly. Where were all these secret allies when our colonies were burning? Where was this hidden support when we were fighting for our survival? Patterson sat down across from him. The Corvani ambassador is requesting an immediate meeting. He says they have valuable intelligence about other hostile species that might threaten human interests. Morrison laughed bitterly. Of course they do. Now that we have weapons that can destabilize stars, everyone wants to be our friend. Everyone wants to make sure they are not next on our list. A communication alert sounded from his personal terminal. Morrison activated it to find General Marcus. Cole calling from Earth. The general's face showed a mixture of satisfaction and weariness. Jake, we have received formal requests for alliance from 17 different species in the last 6 hours, Cole reported. They are all offering technology, resources, trade agreements, anything they think we might want. And what are you telling them? Nothing yet. I wanted to discuss our response with you first. The question is, do we want allies who only support us when we are winning? Morrison considered the question. For 20 years, humanity had sought acceptance in the galactic community. They had followed alien laws, respected alien customs, tried to prove they were worthy of membership in the larger galaxy. All of that had been thrown away the moment things became difficult. Amy, what do you think? He asked Patterson. Should we welcome our former allies back with open arms? Patterson's expression was hard. They voted to let us die, Admiral. Every single one of them chose to abandon us rather than risk their own safety. Why should we trust them now? Morrison activated his communication system and opened a channel to the Galactic Council. Within minutes, representatives from dozens of species appeared on his screen. The same aliens who had voted to abandon humanity now looked at him with expressions of desperate hope. The Corvani ambassador spoke first. Admiral Morrison, the Corvani Federation wishes to congratulate humanity on your impressive victory. We have always admired human determination and resilience. Have you? Morrison asked quietly. Because I remember you voting to abandon us to extinction just a few months ago. The ambassador shifted uncomfortably. That vote was a strategic necessity. We knew that humanity would find a way to survive and eventually triumph. Our withdrawal was designed to make the Zephyrians overconfident. Morrison's smile was cold as ice. So you were helping us by abandoning us? How thoughtful. The Stellar Alliance representative leaned forward. Admiral, we must look to the future rather than dwelling on past misunderstandings. The galaxy faces many threats. Humanity and the established powers should work together to maintain peace and stability. Peace and stability, Morrison repeated. Like the peace and stability you offered when you voted to let the Zephyrians exterminate us? The alien's blue skin darkened with embarrassment. The situation was complex. We had to consider the welfare of our own populations. Of course you did, Morrison said. And we had to consider the welfare of ours. Which is why we developed weapons that can destroy entire star systems. Which is why we created biological agents that can target specific species. Which is why we built technology that can reach across dimensions to strike enemies anywhere in the galaxy. A ripple of fear went through the assembled aliens. They had heard reports about the new human weapons, but hearing Morrison describe them so casually was terrifying. The Meridian Collective delegate spoke up, his tentacles moving in nervous patterns. Admiral, surely humanity does not wish to become isolated from the galactic community. Working together, we can accomplish so much more than any of us could alone. Morrison stood up, his image looming over the alien representatives. You are absolutely right. Working together, we could have defeated the Zephyrians in months instead of years. Working together, we could have saved millions of lives on both sides. Working together, we could have built a galaxy based on mutual respect and support. He paused, letting his words sink in. But you chose not to work with us when we needed you most. You chose to abandon us when our survival was at stake. You chose to let us face extinction alone rather than risk your own comfort. The Corvani ambassador tried to interrupt. Admiral, we understand your anger, but do you? Morrison cut him off. Do you understand that human children died in the colonies, while you debated whether our lives were worth defending? Do you understand that human families were separated forever while you calculated the cost of supporting us? The chamber fell silent. None of the aliens could meet his gaze, Morrison continued. Here is what you need to understand about humanity. We remember our friends, and we remember our enemies even better. You taught us that we can only depend on ourselves. You taught us that alien promises are worthless when tested by adversity. You taught us that in this galaxy, strength is the only thing that matters. He activated a display showing the human fleet positions throughout the galaxy. Red dots marked human ships in every major star system. Blue dots showed new colonies being established on worlds that had been abandoned during the war. This is the new reality, Morrison said. Humanity no longer needs your approval or your alliance. We have our own technology, our own resources, our own destiny. We will take what we need and defend what we have without asking permission from anyone. The Stellar Alliance representative looked desperate. Admiral, please reconsider. The galaxy is large enough for all of us to prosper together. You are right, Morrison agreed. The galaxy is large enough. Large enough for you to stay out of our way while we build our own civilization. Large enough for you to remember the lesson you learned when you abandoned us. He leaned forward, his eyes hard as steel. We offered you partnership once, you rejected it. We offered you alliance once, you betrayed it. We will not make those mistakes again. The Meridian delegate tried one more time. What can we do to repair the damage? What would it take for humanity to trust us again? Morrison was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft but filled with finality. Nothing. He said, there is nothing you can do. Trust, once broken, cannot be repaired. Friendship, once betrayed, cannot be restored. You had your chance to stand with humanity when it mattered. You chose to stand aside and watch us die? He began shutting down the communication system. We will not forget your choice. And we will make sure that no human ever again makes the mistake of depending on alien support. The screen went dark, leaving Morrison alone with Patterson in his quarters. Admiral, what happens now? She asked. Morrison looked out at the stars through his viewport. Somewhere out there, human ships were establishing new colonies and building new bases. Humanity was spreading across the galaxy with the confidence that came from knowing they could defend themselves against any threat. Now we build our own civilization, he said. We create our own alliances with species that prove themselves worthy. We establish our own rules and enforce them with our own strength. And our former allies? Morrison's expression was cold. They can live with the consequences of their choices. They wanted to abandon us when we were weak. Now they get to live. In a galaxy where we are strong and remember exactly how they treated us, a new message appeared on his terminal. It was from Captain Lisa Rodriguez, who had been appointed as Earth's new Prime Minister. The message was simple but clear. The Terran Federation is officially withdrawing from the Galactic Council. We will forge our own path among the stars. Morrison smiled for the first time in months. It was a hard smile filled with satisfaction and determination. The galaxy had created its own nightmare when they abandoned humanity in their darkest hour. They had forged an enemy that would never forget, never forgive, and never again be caught defenseless. The age of human cooperation was over. The age of human independence had begun, and the galaxy would have to learn to live with the monster they had created. The space above Earth turned dark as hundreds of alien ships appeared from nowhere. They came out of hyperspace like sharks entering calm water, ready to hunt. The ships were huge, each one bigger than any building humans had ever made. They moved slowly into position around the planet. Blocking out the stars, Admiral Vexstar stood on the bridge of his biggest ship, the Dominator. He looked at Earth through his main screen and smiled. His teeth were sharp and yellow. He had 4 arms, gray skin and red eyes that glowed in the dark. He was the leader of the 3rd Fleet of the Zilarian Empire, and he had never lost a battle. "Look at this small blue world," Vexstar said to his officers. "The intelligence reports say these humans are weak. They barely know how to travel between planets. Their weapons are simple metal bullets and basic energy beams. This will be easy." Commander Zeklos, his second-in-command, walked up to him. Zeklos had the same gray skin and red eyes, but he was smaller and had scars on his face from old battles. "Admiral, should we start the fear protocol now?" Vexstar nodded. "Yes, these humans need to see what real power looks like. When they see our ships and weapons, they will give up quickly. They always do." The Zilarian Empire had conquered 12 star systems in the past 50 years. Every time it was the same story. They would arrive with their massive fleet, show their superior weapons, and the local species would surrender within hours. Sometimes they did not even need to fire a shot. Fear was often enough. On Earth, alarms were screaming in every military base. General Jake Morrison stood in the main command center deep under a mountain in Colorado. He was a tall man with gray hair and stern eyes. He had been a soldier for 30 years and had never seen anything like this. "Sir, we count 847 alien ships," reported Lieutenant Amy Collins. She was young, maybe 25, with short brown hair and quick fingers that moved across her computer controls. "They are all in orbit around our planet. The smallest ones are still bigger than our largest battleships." General Morrison looked at the big screen that showed the alien fleet. Each red dot was an enemy ship. There were so many dots that they almost covered the entire display. "Any communication from them yet?" "Not yet, sir," Amy said. "But our satellites are picking up energy readings unlike anything we have ever seen. Their weapons could destroy entire cities with single shots." Colonel Pete Williams stepped forward. He was Morrison's old friend, a man with a round face and calm voice. "Jake, this is what we have been preparing for. The protocols are ready." Morrison nodded slowly. 3 years ago, humans had first contact with aliens, but it was not the peaceful meeting that movies always showed. A group of Zilarian scouts had found a human research station near Jupiter. The aliens had destroyed the station without warning, killing everyone on board. But before they died, the scientists had managed to send important information back to Earth. That information had changed everything. Earth's governments had worked together in secret to prepare for this day. They knew the aliens would come back, and they knew it would be for conquest, not friendship. "Sir, incoming transmission on all frequencies," Amy announced. "It is in perfect English." The main screen changed from showing the alien fleet to showing Admiral Vextar's face. His red eyes seemed to look directly at General Morrison. When he spoke, his voice was deep and cold. "Weak humans of Earth," Vextar said. "I am Admiral Vextar of the Zilarian Empire. You have 1 hour to surrender completely to our rule. Fighting back is useless. Your weapons cannot break our shields, and your ships are toys compared to our war machines. Give up now, and your deaths will be quick." The transmission ended, and the command center was quiet for a moment. Everyone looked at General Morrison. Waiting for his orders, Morrison turned to Colonel Williams. "Pete, send the message to all defense stations. Tell them to activate the Prometheus protocol." Williams pressed several buttons on his control panel. "Message sent, sir. All stations are responding. They are ready." Lieutenant Collins looked confused. "Sir, what is the Prometheus protocol?" Morrison smiled for the first time that day. "Amy, 3 years ago we learned that these aliens think humans are primitive and weak. They have conquered other worlds because those species fought with the same type of weapons the aliens use, but humans are different. We do not just copy what others do, we create new things." In secret bases all over Earth, people were getting ready for war. Dr. Lisa Hamilton stood in a hidden facility in Nevada, watching her team prepare weapons that the aliens could not imagine. She was a scientist with dark hair and intelligent eyes who had spent 3 years working on humanity's response to the alien threat. "Roy, are all the quantum disruptors online?" she asked technician Roy Johnson, a young man with steady hands and a good understanding of the new technology. Double quotes. "Yes, Dr. Hamilton," Roy replied. "All 3,000 installations are connected to the global network. The power levels are stable, and targeting computers are locked onto the alien fleet." Lisa looked at the countdown timer on her wall. 52 minutes until the alien deadline. "Remember, everyone, we only get one chance at this. If we fail, there will not be a second opportunity to defend our world." Above them, hidden under fake buildings and forest camouflage, thousands of weapon installations waited silently. The aliens flying overhead had no idea what was waiting for them below. Admiral Vextar was already planning the conquest. He would destroy a few human cities as examples, then demand total surrender. The humans would give in, just like all the others had. It was always the same pattern. He had no idea that in 52 minutes his entire fleet would be dead. Admiral Vextar walked around his bridge, checking the displays that showed Earth below. His red eyes studied the readings from his scanning equipment. Something was wrong, but he could not figure out what it was. "The humans are not acting like they should," he told Commander Zeklos. "Most species beg for mercy by now. These humans are doing something instead." Zeklos looked at his own display. "Admiral, our sensors show increased activity all over their planet. They are turning on some kind of defense network, but the energy readings make no sense." Vextar laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Let them turn on whatever toys they have. Our shields can stop any weapon. Our intelligence reports show they use simple projectile weapons and basic energy beams. Nothing they have can hurt us." What the Admiral did not know was that human intelligence reports about the Zilarians were much better than Zilarian intelligence about humans. 3 years ago, when the aliens destroyed the research station, they made a big mistake. They left debris behind. The human scientists at the station had been studying a strange energy reading when the attack happened. Dr. Richard Clark, the station leader, had only seconds to live, but he used those seconds well. He transmitted everything his team had learned about the alien technology back to Earth. Before the station exploded, that information had saved humanity. Dr. Lisa Hamilton and her team had spent 3 years studying every piece of data they learned. How Zilarian shields worked, how their weapons functioned, and most importantly, how to defeat them. "The aliens use old physics," Dr. Hamilton had explained to the world leaders in a secret meeting. "Their technology is advanced, but it follows rules we understand. They make their shields by bending energy fields around their ships. Their weapons work by heating matter until it becomes plasma, then shooting it at targets. President Lavra Evans had leaned forward in her chair. Can we build weapons that work the same way? We could, Lisa had replied, but that would be stupid. If we copy their technology, we will always be behind them. Instead, we need to build weapons that work in ways they cannot defend against. That was when the Prometheus Protocol was born. Instead of trying to match alien technology, humans would create something completely new. They would use quantum physics in ways that the aliens had never imagined. Now, in the hidden Nevada facility, Dr. Hamilton watched her life's work prepare for its first real test. The quantum disruptors were unlike any weapon ever built. They did not fire energy or matter at targets. Instead, they reached through dimensions that most species could not even detect. Dr. Hamilton, called technician Roy Johnson from his station. All installations report ready status. The network is stable and synchronized, Lisa nodded. She looked around the room at her team. There were 50 people here, all working to defend their world. Some were young scientists fresh from college. Others were old engineers who had worked on secret projects for decades. All of them knew that if this plan failed, humanity would be slaves or corpses within hours. How does it work exactly? Asked Dr. Kevin Murphy, a physicist who had joined the project only 6 months ago. Lisa walked to the big display screen that showed a diagram of the quantum disruptor system. Normal weapons try to break through shields by using more power than the shields can absorb. The aliens expect this, so they build very strong shields. But we are not going to break through their shields. We are going to ignore them completely. She pressed a button, and the diagram changed to show the quantum disruptor beam. Our weapons fire energy that exists in multiple dimensions at the same time. The alien shields only work in normal space. When our beam hits their ship, it passes right through the shield as if the shield was not there. Dr. Murphy's eyes grew wide. That should be impossible. The aliens think so too, Lisa replied. That is why it will work. Above them, hidden under a fake forest, one of the quantum disruptor installations hummed quietly with power. It looked like a small hill covered with trees, but inside was a weapon that could destroy spaceships from millions of miles away. Similar installations were hidden all over Earth. Some were built into mountains. Others were hidden under lakes or deserts. A few were even built into the foundations of normal-looking buildings in cities. The aliens flying overhead could not see them because they were designed to be invisible to the scanning methods that the Zalarians used. Captain Steve Parker commanded one of these installations from Luna Base, hidden on the far side of the moon. He was a former Navy officer who had volunteered for the most dangerous job in human history. If the alien ships detected Luna Base before the attack began, Steve and his crew would be the first to die. Captain, reported Sergeant Linda Torres, his communications officer, we are receiving final targeting data from Earth Command. All enemy ships have been assigned target priorities. Steve looked at his display. It showed every alien ship in the fleet, with computer-calculated firing solutions for each one. The targeting computer had spent weeks studying the alien formation, learning which ships were most important and which ones should be destroyed first. The big ships in the center are command vessels, Steve told his crew. If we can destroy those first, the rest of the fleet will be confused and disorganized. The quantum disruptor installations were not the only secret weapon humanity had prepared. The attack plan also included dimensional anchor generators, devices that could prevent alien ships from escaping into hyperspace. These had been Dr. Hamilton's second most important invention. If they try to run away, we need to stop them, she had explained to the defense planners. We cannot let any of them escape to warn their empire about our capabilities. Commander Bill Lewis operated one of the anchor generators from a hidden base in Antarctica. He was a quiet man who had spent most of his career working on classified projects. He understood better than most people how important it was to keep Earth's new weapons secret. All anchor generators report ready, Bill told General Morrison, over the secure communication network. If any alien ship tries to jump to hyperspace, we can stop them. Back on the Zalarian flagship, Admiral Vexstar was growing impatient. 30 minutes had passed since his ultimatum, and the humans were still not surrendering. Instead, they seemed to be getting more active. "Admiral," reported his science officer, "human activity has increased by 300% in the last 20 minutes. They are powering up installations all over their planet, but we cannot identify what type of weapons they are." Vexstar waved a dismissive hand. "It does not matter what toys they activate. When the hour is over, we will demonstrate why the Zalarian Empire rules this part of the galaxy. Target their largest cities. We will destroy one as an example, and the rest will surrender immediately." The Admiral had no idea that in 30 minutes, his empire would lose the most powerful fleet it had ever built. The countdown timer in Dr. Hamilton's facility showed 0 seconds. 1 hour had passed since the alien ultimatum. Above Earth, Admiral Vexstar prepared to show humanity the price of defiance. "Target the city called New York," Vexstar ordered. His weapons officer, "Fire 1 plasma cannon. Let the humans watch their largest city burn. That will convince them to surrender." The weapons officer, a young Galarian named Kexival, pressed the firing controls. Plasma cannon charged and ready. "Admiral, firing now." But before the alien weapon could fire, every sensor on the Zalarian flagship began screaming warnings. Energy readings unlike anything in the Empire's databases erupted from Earth's surface. The readings were so strange that the ship's computer could not even classify what type of weapon was being used. "Admiral, massive energy spikes detected planetwide," shouted the science officer. "Power levels are off our measurement scales. The humans are firing something, but our sensors cannot identify the weapon type." Vexstar stared at his displays in confusion. The energy readings made no sense. They seemed to come from everywhere, on the planet at once, but the weapons themselves were invisible to Zalarian scanners. Then the first quantum disruptor beams reached the alien fleet. The beams looked like nothing the aliens had ever seen. They were not bright like laser weapons or glowing like plasma cannons. Instead, they seemed to shimmer and bend as if they existed in more than 3 dimensions. They moved at the speed of light but somehow appeared to arrive before they were. "Fired." Captain Steve Parker watched his targeting display from Luna Base as his quantum disruptor locked onto the alien flagship. "Target acquired, firing primary weapon." The beam that erupted from Luna Base was invisible to normal eyes, but Steve could see it on his instruments as it reached across space toward the massive alien ship. The beam passed through the void between worlds in less than a second, carrying enough energy to power a city for a year. Admiral Vexstar saw the beam coming on his displays and laughed. "A single energy beam? Our shields can absorb the power of a star. This will not even scratch our hull." He was wrong. The quantum disruptor beam struck the Dominator's shields and passed through them as if they did not exist. The beam hit the ship's hull and began tearing the massive vessel apart at the atomic level. Metal that had been forged in? The heart of a star simply ceased to exist as the quantum energy ripped through normal matter. "Impossible," Vexstar whispered as his flagship began to die around him. "Our shields are perfect. Nothing can penetrate them." All across the alien fleet, the same scene was playing out. Quantum disruptor beams erupted from hidden installations on Earth, each one targeted at a specific enemy ship. The beams struck shields that had never failed before and passed through them, like sunlight through glass. Commander Zeklos stared at his damage reports in disbelief. "Admiral, we have lost 50 ships in the first 30 seconds. The human weapons are ignoring our shields completely. Our armor is useless against them." Dr. Hamilton watched the battle from her Nevada facility, monitoring the performance of every quantum disruptor in the global network. The weapons were working exactly as designed. 3 years of preparation and calculation were paying off in the most important 30 seconds in human history. "All installations report successful hits," announced Roy Johnson. "Enemy fleet is taking massive casualties." "Their shields are providing no protection whatsoever," Lisa smiled grimly. The aliens had made the same mistake that many Earth generals had made throughout history. They had prepared to fight the last war, not the next one. Their shields were designed to stop the weapons they knew about, not the weapons they could not imagine on Earth's surface. Thousands of hidden installations continued their deadly work. The quantum disruptors fired in carefully coordinated waves, each beam calculated to maximize damage to the alien fleet. Computer systems that had been designed by the best minds on Earth guided every shot with perfect precision. Captain Tony Blake commanded a cluster of installations hidden in the Rocky Mountains. He watched his displays as beam after beam reached out to destroy alien ships. This is Rocky Mountain Base to all stations. We have confirmed kills on 37 targets. No enemy return fire detected. The aliens were trying to fight back, but their weapons could not hit targets they could not see. The quantum disruptor installations were hidden not just from visual detection, but from every type of scanner the Zilarians used. Earth's defensive network was invisible to the alien sensors. Admiral Vextar tried to understand what was happening to his fleet. In less than 2 minutes, he had lost over 200 ships. The human weapons seemed to strike from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. "Return fire on all human positions," he ordered desperately. "Destroy their entire planet if necessary." The surviving Accelarian ships opened fire with everything they had. Plasma cannons that could melt mountains fired at Earth's surface. Particle beams that could cut through asteroids lanced down toward the planet. Energy weapons that had destroyed entire cities on other worlds struck at the hidden human installations. But the alien weapons could not hit what they could not find. The quantum disruptor installations existed partially outside normal space-time, protected by the same dimensional technology that powered their weapons. The alien weapons passed through them harmlessly, unable to affect targets that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. General Morrison watched the battle from his command center, seeing the alien weapons strike at empty ground while the real installations remained untouched. "Report from all defense stations. Any casualties?" Lieutenant Amy Collins checked her communications board. "No casualties reported, sir. The alien weapons cannot locate our actual positions. They are firing at sensor ghosts and decoy signals." The battle was turning into a massacre, but it was not the massacre that Admiral Vextar had planned. Instead of human cities burning under alien fire, it was Zilarian ships dying in the cold vacuum of space. Commander Bill Lewis activated the dimensional anchor generators from his base in Antarctica. All anchor units deploy spacetime distortion fields. Do not let any enemy ship escape. Across the solar system, invisible fields of twisted spacetime began to form around the alien fleet. The Zilarians had not yet tried to flee, but when they did, they would find escape impossible. Dr. Hamilton looked at her tactical display and saw that the battle was proceeding perfectly. In 3 minutes, over half the alien fleet had been destroyed. The survivors were confused, disorganized, and completely outmatched by weapons they could not understand. "Commence Wave 3, she ordered. "Target the remaining command ships. Let us finish this." The quantum disruptors fired again, and more alien ships vanished in flashes of multidimensional energy. Admiral Vextar's mighty fleet, the pride of the Zilarian Empire, was being systematically destroyed by humans they had considered primitive. In 4 minutes, the most one-sided battle in galactic history would be over. Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge of his dying flagship, watching his fleet disappear ship by ship. The humans were using weapons that broke every law of physics the Zilarian Empire understood. In 4 minutes, he had lost 600 ships to an enemy that should have been helpless. "Science Officer Naltek, explain this to me," Vextar roared, his forearms shaking with rage and fear. "How are primitive humans destroying our fleet with weapons that should not exist?" "Science Officer." Naltek was a thin Zilarian with pale gray skin and nervous movements. He had spent his entire career studying alien technologies, but nothing had prepared him for this. His instruments showed energy readings that made no sense according to everything the Empire knew about physics. "Admiral, the human weapons appear to use quantum dimensional manipulation," Naltek said, his voice trembling. "They are somehow channeling energy through parallel dimensions that our shields cannot protect against." Our scientists always said this was theoretically impossible. Vexstar grabbed the science officer with two of his hands. Impossible or not, they are doing it. Find me a way to stop them. Naltec looked at his readings again, hoping to find something useful. Sir, our shields are designed to deflect energy weapons that travel through normal space. These human beings exist in multiple dimensions at the same time. When they hit our shields, part of the beam passes through normal space while another part passes through quantum dimensions we cannot detect. What the Zelarian science officer did not understand was that humans had always been good at thinking in new ways. While the Zelarian Empire had spent thousands of years perfecting existing technologies, humanity had approached the problem from a completely different angle. Dr. Lisa Hamilton had realized something important 3 years ago, when she first studied the alien technology. The Zelarians were very advanced, but they thought in straight lines. Their shields worked by creating energy barriers, their weapons worked by applying force. Everything they built followed the same basic principles. They are like master craftsmen who have perfected the art of making stone tools, Lisa had explained to her team. They make the best stone tools in the galaxy, but they have never imagined that metal tools might be possible. Humans, on the other hand, had always been good at imagining impossible things. When other species saw a mountain, they walked around it. When humans saw a mountain, they built tunnels through it or bridges over it. When the aliens built better shields, humans built weapons that ignored shields completely. Commander Bill Lewis watched the battle from his Antarctic base, coordinating the dimensional anchor generators that prevented alien ships from escaping. The anchors worked by creating fields of twisted space-time that made hyperspace travel impossible in the local area. All anchor units report successful field deployment, Bill told General Morrison over the secure channel. The alien fleet is trapped in normal space. Even if they try to run, they cannot escape to hyperspace. This was another example of human thinking that confused the aliens. Most species tried to destroy enemy ships before they could escape. Humans had decided to make escape impossible, then destroy the ships at their leisure on the Zelarian flagship. Admiral Vexstar was beginning to understand that his fleet was doomed. He had never faced an enemy like this before. The humans fought with weapons that bypassed every defense the Empire had developed over centuries of conquest. All ships attempt retreat to hyperspace, Vexstar ordered. We must warn the Empire about these weapons. His navigation officer, a young Zelarian named Vexstar, tried to activate the hyperspace drive. The massive engines that could fold space and time hummed to life, building the energy needed to tear a hole between dimensions. But instead of opening a hyperspace portal, the engines simply failed. Admiral, hyperspace drive failure, Vexstar reported. The space around our fleet has been altered somehow. We cannot form the necessary dimensional distortions for hyperspace travel. Vexstar felt fear for the first time in his long military career. The humans had not only built weapons that could destroy his ships, they had also built devices that could trap his fleet in normal space. Every escape route was blocked. Dr. Hamilton watched her displays as the quantum disruptors continued their deadly work. The weapons were performing even better than her most optimistic projections. In 4 minutes, the alien fleet had been reduced from 847 ships to less than 100. Roy, what is our power consumption? She asked. Technician Roy Johnson. Roy checked his instruments. We are using only 60% of available power. Dr. Hamilton, the quantum disruptors are more efficient than we calculated. We could maintain this rate of fire for hours if necessary. Lisa nodded with satisfaction. The aliens had expected a long battle where human weapons would gradually weaken alien shields through sustained bombardment. Instead, they were facing weapons that killed instantly and used very little power to do it. Captain Steve Parker commanded the Luna base installation that had fired the first shot of the battle. He watched his targeting computer select new alien ships to destroy. The computer was learning from each shot, becoming more accurate and more deadly with every beam fired. Luna base to all stations, Steve reported. Target acquisition time is improving with each shot. The computer is adapting to alien ship designs in real time. This was another advantage that humans had over the aliens. Zilarian weapons were built to fight enemies they understood. Human weapons were built to learn about enemies they had never seen before. The quantum disruptor targeting systems improved with experience, becoming more effective as the battle continued. Admiral Vexstar made one last desperate attempt to understand his enemy. He opened a communication channel to Earth, hoping to speak directly with the human commanders. "Human leaders, I am Admiral Vexstar of the Zilarian Empire," he transmitted. "Your weapons are beyond our understanding. How did a primitive species develop technology that surpasses our own?" General Morrison received the alien transmission in his command center. He looked at the display showing the dying alien fleet, then activated his reply channel. "Admiral Vexstar, you made a simple mistake," Morrison said calmly. "You assumed that primitive meant weak. You studied our old technology and decided we were no threat. But humans do not just improve existing technology. We invent completely new technology." Morrison paused, then continued. "Your people perfected the technology you inherited from others. Our people imagined technology that has never existed before. You built the best shields in the galaxy to stop known weapons. We built unknown weapons that do not care about shields." The alien admiral listened to this explanation with growing horror. His empire had conquered dozens of worlds by using superior versions of familiar technology. They had never encountered a species that abandoned familiar approaches in favor of completely new ones. "Impossible," Vexstar transmitted back. "Quantum dimensional manipulation requires understanding of physics, principles that take thousands of years to develop." Morrison smiled. "Admiral, humans went from first flight to landing on our moon in 66 years. We went from the first computer to global digital networks in 50 years. When humans decide to solve a problem, we solve it quickly." Dr. Hamilton added her own message to the communication. "Admiral, your scouts gave us 3 years to prepare for your arrival. 3 years is enough time for humans to revolutionize physics when our survival depends on it." Admiral Vexstar realized the terrible truth. The Zilarian Empire had given their enemy exactly what they needed: time to prepare and motivation to innovate. By destroying the human research station 3 years ago, they had provided humans with alien technology to study and a clear threat to defend against. The humans had used those 3 years to do what humans did best: imagine the impossible, and then make it real. Admiral Vexstar watched in horror as his once mighty fleet continued to die around him. Less than 50 ships remained from the 847 that had arrived with such confidence. The human weapons showed no signs of slowing down, and every attempt to fight back or escape had failed. All remaining ships formed defensive formation around the flagship, Vexstar ordered desperately. "Concentrate all shield power to maximum levels." Commander Zeklos looked at his admiral with sad eyes. "Sir, shield power will not help us. The human weapons pass through our shields as if they do not exist. Increasing power only wastes energy." The truth was becoming clear to every Zilarian in the fleet. Their technology, which had seemed so advanced just minutes ago, was completely useless against human weapons. It was like trying to stop bullets with a fishing net. On Earth, Dr. Hamilton monitored the quantum disruptor network from her Nevada facility. The weapons had exceeded every performance target she had set. The alien fleet was being destroyed faster than her most optimistic battle plans had predicted. "Dr. Hamilton," called Technician Roy Johnson, "we are receiving priority targeting data from intelligence sources. They have identified which of the remaining ships are most important to destroy first." Lisa looked at the new target list on her main display. Human intelligence had been studying the alien fleet formation since the moment they arrived. Pattern analysis software had identified which ships were command vessels, which carried the most dangerous weapons, and which might contain important intelligence data. "Update all targeting priorities," Lisa ordered. "Focus fire on the command ships first." If we can eliminate their leadership, the remaining ships will be even less organized. Captain Steve Parker received the new targeting orders at Luna Base. His quantum disruptor swung toward a massive alien ship that intelligence had identified as a fleet command vessel. The ship was 3 times larger than any other vessel in the alien formation, bristling with communication arrays and defensive weapons. Target acquired, Steve reported. Firing at alien command ship designation Alpha 7. The quantum disruptor beam reached across space in an instant, striking the alien command ship with enough multidimensional energy to power a small star. The massive vessel simply vanished, torn apart so completely that not even debris remained. Admiral Vextar felt his ship shake as another command vessel was destroyed nearby. He was running out of options and running out of time. In desperation, he tried the only strategy he had left. All ships, scatter formation, he ordered. Spread out across the solar system. Make the humans divide their fire among many targets. It was the kind of tactical thinking that had made Vextar a successful admiral in previous battles. Against conventional weapons, scattering would have forced the human defenders to choose between many targets, allowing some alien ships to escape or regroup. But the humans were not using conventional weapons or conventional tactics. Colonel Rachel Martinez coordinated the Earth Defense Network from her command post in the Pacific. She watched the alien ships begin to scatter and smiled. Coldly, the aliens were still thinking like they were fighting a normal battle. All stations, the enemy is attempting to scatter, Rachel announced on the command network. Switch to distributed targeting mode. Every installation should select independent targets. The quantum disruptor network had been designed from the beginning to fight exactly this kind of battle. Instead of being controlled by a single command center, each installation could operate independently while coordinating with all others through quantum communication links. Within seconds, every surviving alien ship found itself targeted by multiple quantum disruptor installations. The aliens had spread out hoping to make targeting difficult, but they had actually made themselves easier to destroy by removing the protection of group formations. Dr. Hamilton watched as her weapons network demonstrated another advantage of human thinking. The aliens had built their fleet to fight like an army, with ships supporting each other in formation. Humans had built their weapons to hunt like a pack of wolves, with each weapon able to operate alone while sharing information with all others. Wave 4 commencing, announced Roy Johnson. All installations report target lock on remaining enemy vessels. The 4th wave of quantum disruptor fire reached out from Earth like the hand of an angry god. Beams of multidimensional energy struck the scattered alien ships simultaneously, eliminating 23 vessels in the space of 5 seconds. Commander Bill Lewis monitored the dimensional anchor generators from his Antarctic base. The devices were working perfectly, preventing any alien ship from escaping to hyperspace. But Bill was already thinking ahead to what would happen after the battle. General Morrison, Bill transmitted to the command center, recommend we maintain anchor fields for at least 6 hours after the last alien ship is destroyed. We need time to recover any useful debris before it drifts away. Morrison nodded approvingly. Even in the middle of humanity's greatest victory, his people were thinking about what they could learn from the battle. The aliens had brought advanced technology to Earth's doorstep, and humans intended to study every piece of it. Admiral Vextar realized that his scattered formation had been a mistake. Instead of making his ships harder to target, he had eliminated their ability to support each other. Now each surviving vessel was fighting alone against an enemy that could destroy them instantly. All ships attempt emergency hyperspace jump, he ordered. Individual ships may be able to escape where the fleet could not. But the dimensional anchors made escape impossible for individual ships just as they had for the entire fleet. The Zellarium vessels found their hyperspace drives completely disabled by the twisted space-time field surrounding Earth's solar system. Captain Tony Blake commanded a cluster of quantum disruptor installations hidden in the Rocky Mountains. He watched his tactical display as the alien ships made their desperate escape attempts. Each time a ship tried to jump to hyperspace, its engines would charge up normally, then simply fail to open a portal. "This is Rocky Mountain Base," Tony reported. "Enemy ships are attempting hyperspace escape but failing consistently. The anchor fields are holding perfectly." Dr. Hamilton looked at her master tactical display and saw that only 12 alien ships remained operational. The battle that Admiral Vextar had expected to win in minutes was almost over, and he had lost everything. "Commence final bombardment," Lisa ordered. "Let us finish this." The quantum disruptor network fired one last coordinated salvo. 12 beams of multidimensional energy reached out from hidden installations across Earth, each one targeted at one of the surviving alien ships. Admiral Vextar had just enough time to send one final transmission to his distant empire before his flagship was destroyed. "High Command, abort all plans for Earth conquest. The humans possess weapons beyond our understanding. They are not primitives. They are—" The quantum disruptor beam from Luna Base struck the Dominator before the Admiral could finish his warning. The massive flagship, symbol of Zalorian power, tore itself apart as its matter was scattered across multiple dimensions simultaneously. In the silence that followed, space around Earth was empty except for slowly expanding clouds of debris. The Zalorian Third Fleet, all 847 ships, had been completely destroyed in exactly 4 minutes and 37 seconds. On Earth, thousands of humans sat quietly in their hidden installations, hardly believing what they had accomplished. They had faced the most powerful fleet the galaxy had ever seen and destroyed it without losing a single person or weapon. General Morrison looked around his command center at the people who had just saved humanity. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said quietly, "we have just taught the galaxy an important lesson. Never underestimate humans when our survival is at stake." Kevin smiled. "Based on the responses we have received so far, potentially thousands of star systems. Every species that has suffered under imperial oppression is interested in joining a defensive alliance." Dr. Hamilton was excited by the possibilities. "General, we could establish a galactic civilization based on cooperation rather than conquest. Instead of empires that expand through force, we could create a network that grows through mutual benefit." Morrison looked around the command center that had become the center of galactic diplomacy. In 1 week, humanity had transformed from an isolated species to the leaders of a potential galactic revolution. "Ladies and gentlemen," Morrison said, "when the Zalorian Empire attacked Earth, they thought they were conquering one small world. Instead, they started a war that will end their empire and create a new kind of galactic civilization.